Welcome to Roar Stories. I am so excited that you're here, and I'm so excited that Nat is here. Nat's got an amazing story about refusing to quit, and he didn't learn that lesson until later in life. And I'm going to let him talk to you about that a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the Roar Gallery a little bit. This is a place where courage is witnessed, victories are honored, and hope becomes contagious. And we have a couple of mottos. We end every episode with the words never give up. But we also say on every episode that the human race is not meant to be run alone, and that hope is the only thing that grows when we actually give it away. And so the Roar Gallery is about giving away hope so that it can grow in the world. So if you like this episode, please share it out to your friends because, again, that's the only way hope is going to grow. So, Nate, I'm excited that you're here and excited to hear more about your story. Tell us a little bit, Nate Schooler, right? Tell us a little bit about where you're from and just give us a little snapshot into your life right now.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for inviting me to be on your show. I really, really do genuinely appreciate that. I'm actually half English, half American. My father moved to the UK when before I was born. Met my mother. It was his second marriage, and so I've got three half sisters over across the pond where you are. And
Nice.
I moved to Croatia about 5 years ago. And so I'm actually building a business from my home in the Croatian countryside. I managed to get fiber optic broadband installed.
Wow.
And I'm quite excited about life, if I'm perfectly honest. But, it hasn't always been easy. I mean, life is never easy, right? And if you're listening to this and you're like struggling and whatever else, like it doesn't matter who you are. Like I've interviewed some super famous individuals like Stanley Tucci and massive cricket players, captains of England rugby team, and really famous business people. And all these people, they never gave up, right? They never gave up. So
Yeah.
I love your mission and your purpose for this show. And I think it's really, really important in life to just remember that, no matter how much you're being crushed, right? You need to just breathe, take your time, and just carry on, right? Because you're going to get through this, whatever it might be. To be honest.
100%. And, you know, um, I know you don't know my story. I like to describe myself as a Hall of Fame winner. I'm actually in the Hall of Fame at the University of Iowa for swimming,
Wow.
which I don't swim now, but I would like to again someday. But I've also gone through Hall of Fame loss. And, my life has been a series of loss as an adult. I lost my son when I was 26. Then 2 years later, my daughter was born with the same disease. It's called citrullinemia. And she wasn't supposed to live a week. And 4 years of hospitalizations later, she had a liver transplant. And then her life began when she was 4. And now she's 32 and she's just fabulous. I also have a younger son who's healthy. But as soon as my daughter was healthy, then I went through a divorce and a very bad custody battle, and then another bad marriage and divorce. Then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then 6 years after breast cancer, I lost my home and every possession I owned and had to start over and rebuild my life. And so when I say never give up, um, I really mean that if I'm still here breathing, walking, talking, and saying thank you to God and finding even a little bit of gratitude in my life, if I can do that, anybody can do it. And so I'm really excited that you're here. And I know you've got a story of, being challenged too. So let's dive into your story just a little bit.
Well, just like to say that's a really inspiring story, to be honest, and it's brutal, and life can be like that. But on the other side of these things,
Yeah.
we go through this pain in order to help other people, right? And that's something that you know about let me see, so probably about 8 years ago now, I'd basically left my wife. I was going through divorce, and it was horrendous. It's literally horrendous. Divorce is
Never.
horrendous. It's awful. And so I moved to Spain because I just couldn't cope anymore. I left, put all my stuff in my car. It wasn't a midlife crisis. It was an awakening, right? And you can only
Mm,
be with that person for a certain amount of time until you decide, you know what? I can't live this life. It's not my life that I'm leading. It's and I watched this Wayne Dyer video every day for 30 days before I left my wife. It wasn't like I left her, on a whim. It was like a really well thought out move, right? And in this video, Wayne Dyer talks about the story of Ivan Illich, about how it's a Tolstoy story, and how Ivan Illich basically was, I think, a carpenter, and he's on his deathbed, and he looks back over his whole life, and he realizes he lived someone else's life. And at
oh,
that moment, I listened to this every day for 30
yeah.
days, the same video, and I was like, do you know what? I've got to go. I I'm sorry, I'm leaving you, right? And the moment I said I was leaving you to her, I felt so much better, because
Mm,
I've come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. My father was a businessman, and I wanted to build a business and build a life for myself, right? And unfortunately, when you're around someone that is negative towards you and they're selfish, it rubs off onto you, right?
yes, it
So
does.
I became quite selfish, right? I became selfish, and I moved to Spain, and I went to Spain in my Jeep, and I rented a villa, and I drank too much wine and ate too much food, and
Easy to do in
lounged by the
Spain.
pool and all these things, right? And I just remember I ran out of money, and at the time I'd been working for IBM. I was part of this futurist program. I went to IBM Think. They flew me out there. I heard Will Smith speak there, and I was
Wow.
at the front of the place in Vegas, and it was amazing. But then I got home and realized that actually, uh, and it all just went wrong because my ego was just out of control, right? It was out of control, and I was selfish. My ego was out of control, and then so I spent all my money, uh, got through my divorce. Must admit, did some stupidly crazy things. Flew to Belize to go and pick up my wedding certificate. Had a really weird week of Latin American travels, and so then what happened is I called up my dad, and I was like, Dad, can you help me out? I'm stuck. I'm running out of money. And he sent me some money so I could get on the boat, the ferry. So I drove my Jeep, got on the ferry, and I remember very clearly I drank a bottle of wine on this boat, and I fell asleep on this bench at the top, one of these sofas, and it was quite uncomfortable. And I remember I just woke up in the middle of the night, and I looked over my shoulder, and I saw this huge vision of Jesus, and he was massive, and it literally absolutely terrified me to the point of I turned my back, and I spoke to him, and I said, look, I can't cope with this. You're scaring the daylights out of me. I'm going back to sleep. And I literally went back to sleep, right? And then that was the beginning of me actually becoming a Christian and changing my life. And and the next thing that happened to me was just absolutely brutal. It was brutal. I basically moved. I moved to somewhere in the New Forest, a place called Dartmoor, which is a really famous place. It's part of the Hound of the Baskervilles story. That's
Oh,
where
I
that
didn't
was.
know that story.
Right, you're the first person that knows that story that I've spoken to in the past month, because I keep
I'm a
telling them, and
reader,
they're like,
so
"No." What's that?
I'm a reader.
Oh, super, super. So, so I basically was staying quite close to my girlfriend's house, and we all went out for a walk with the kids, right? And I locked the back door, and then I broke the door lock. I broke the front door lock. I broke the key off not the key. I actually broke the lock, right? I think it was an old lock, and it was rusted and whatever else. But anyway, what happened is that she was quite. I liked her a lot, but she was a black belt in full contact kickboxing, karate, and combat jiu-jitsu, right? So I was a bit I mean, I'm into my martial arts, right? So I wasn't like scared she was going to do me over in front of her kids or anything, right? But I was just stressed out of my mind. She basically said to me, right, I'm going with the kids and we're going to go somewhere and have some food. And here's a phone and here's a bottle of water. And if I don't get back tonight, you can sleep in your car. And at the time, right, I kid you not, at the time I had a Mazda MX-5 Mark 1, right, with the roll cage in it. And it was the most uncomfortable car. It was like, my dad said it was like putting a crisp packet on. It was so small, this car, right? So
Oh
first
my,
of all, so she's driven off, left me with this bottle of water, and I sat in my car and I
and
was
no way
like,
to get in the house.
no way to get in the house, right? I sat in my car and it was probably about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. She said, well, you need to get the money to pay the locksmith. And I was broke. I didn't know anybody's phone number. She's given me a mobile phone. My phone's in the house, right? And I was like, oh my God. Literally, I was stressed out of my mind, right? So like any normal British person, I got out of my little car and I went for a walk, right? I went for a walk on the moors and I sat down and I spoke to God and I said, look, God, Jesus, I can't cope anymore. I completely give up. I absolutely give in to whatever it is. What do I need to do? And I heard these words, loud words in my head saying, you are deeply selfish. And unless you change, I'm going to keep doing this to you. And at that point, I
Wow.
literally was crying and I was sitting down. It was getting cold. And I just said, all right, I give in. I just give up. I can't do this anymore. I will change. You need to help me. And then it was a
Mm.
process that went on and on and on for years. And it's still going on, right? It's still going on. But there was some sort of compassion and empathy that I was lacking in my soul, in my heart for other people. And
Yeah.
so that was it really. And it was a massive obstacle. And I think the more you care about other people, the better your life will become, if I'm perfectly honest.
I totally agree with that. And, so I am in the process of writing a second book. My first book is about my story. And my second book is called The Rose or the Rose Path. And it's a working title, but um, the book goes through the acronym ROSE. R is recognize, O is one step at a time, S is see and celebrate milestones, and E is extend. And extend means, right, that these things that we're learning, when we're finally able to give them back and share them out to others, right, that's an act of not only compassion, but it's an act of love. And when we give away love, when we give away hope, right, it comes back to us. Our hearts grow. Yeah. And that's why we're here. That's why we're on Roar Stories. Again, because the human race is not meant to be run alone. And you just said it in your own words beautifully.
Thank you. It was brutal at the time, but like all these things, like I say, it's and exactly what you're saying, you just got to play it forwards, right? Play it forwards and help as many people as you can. And it's you know since I moved here to Croatia, I've been going through this self-development process for, you know, 5, 6 longer years, right? And actually being here has given me the chance to really, really go through that a lot. And so I sort of took up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the age of 45, got a blue belt after being absolutely crushed
Nice.
for 3.5 years. Now I'm doing MMA with a bunch of people. The coach is younger than me, right? I'm 49, yeah, and he's 42, right? But I'm training with a bunch of kids. I mean, that's what they are to me, right? And and sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but actually, being better than you were yesterday is what, for me, that's my advice to myself, right? But I have more. I have more to give. Yeah. I have the most amazing process, which has been helping me. I've been using this for the past 3 weeks, and it's something that I've discovered on TikTok, believe it or not. I was
Oh,
actually
tell us.
using, well, I was using a similar process myself, but it wasn't hitting the mark. It was so I know you're big into beliefs and how and the back of the mind is really powerful, and doing all this inner child work is super important. Doing the work on your programming is, in fact, I think, one of the most important things anybody can do, because you're not going to leave your iPhone or your Android to run on 20-year-old software, 40-year, 50-year-old software.
Totally
Why are you
true.
going to do that? Right. So
Yeah.
why are you going to do that with your brain? Right. Like, it just doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so it's a process, a daily process for me of actually understanding what these beliefs are and revisiting them and crossing them out. And I'll tell you exactly how I do that. And I was doing
Yes,
it in a
I've got
different.
my pen and paper right here.
You're gonna love this. This is really powerful. So basically, let's say, for example, you used to believe you were broke, right? You literally had nothing. Okay, we've all been there, right? We've all been there. Yeah. So what I did. So say, for example, you write down this, right? Um, I don't have any money, right? So I don't have any money. I think I'm broke. Then what you do is you write this down. I used to believe I was broke, and my level of financial security was a 2 out of 10. But the most important thing, so that's really important. Then the next bit is, and now I am choosing to believe that I am wealthy beyond my wildest dreams, under grace, in perfect ways. And it can be any belief that you are
I love
that
this.
you are. I'm just putting my pad down. So it could be any belief that you have got there that is holding you back from achieving whatever it is. Because look, right, there are so many levels to this. Like, in life, we've got all sorts of areas in our lives. Like, we've got a house that we live in, or an apartment. We've got
Mhm.
relationships. We've got finance. We've got career fulfillment. We've got fitness and health. And all these things add up. But you can never be 10 out of 10 on all of them. So it's a bit like juggling a plate. If you juggle this plate over here and you don't spin it, it will fall off of the pole, right, that you're spinning it on. And so I'm trying to focus on just getting to a 7 on all of these levels,
Oh, wow.
right? Because I think
Yeah.
because well, I think, what's the point of being a 4 in one and then a 10 in the other, when
Correct. I
actually,
agree.
right? So that's my advice to myself, really, is
I
just,
love
you
this.
know, because you can't regret things, right? Like, it's literally pointless to regret anything, because regret is just like the worst. So yeah, I hope that's helped someone, and I hope that's helped people, and you as well, because I know you're
Um,
looking into these
I
things.
I'm absolutely in awe because as I've been interviewing people for Roar Stories, what is just making me laugh inside and just thank God is that he keeps bringing people into my life through this Roar Stories that have a story that I need to hear. And it's been uncanny, it's been bizarre. It's right, God has such a sense of humor. But actually, what you're talking about is something that I've really been diving deeper into in the last couple of weeks because I was on vacation and I came home and I did not want to come home because I was coming home to a workaholic life. I literally was working 24/7 and never felt like I was ahead. And it is because of beliefs that I'm not enough unless I do the next thing. And so I've really been diving deep into this belief of what's making me feel like I'm not enough, and where am I enough, and trying to ask myself different questions And then this morning, my prayer literally this morning was, Lord, open my eyes and show me. And that took me to Ephesians 1, where God tells us all the things that are true about us because we are new creations in him. And it's just funny, this journey. It's not funny, it's divine. It's inspired. It's amazing. And then here you are talking about challenging our previous beliefs. And and if we don't challenge the things that we believe or have on autopilot in our minds, we don't grow as people. And that's as simple as how to do something, right? Um, there might be a better way to do something as simple as put an air filter in my car than the method that I use. And if I'm not open to a new solution and I just do the old way every time, I'm not growing as a person. So I love this.
100%. And it's really relevant to what I'm doing at Monday Influencer. Right? Somehow I managed to, when I left Poland on my way to Croatia about 5 years ago, I was researching the Holocaust, and I went to Auschwitz, and on my way out of Poland, and then and that was really emotional. It was really emotional, and you know, so I sort of carried on researching that, and I found a blog on the Holocaust, and the author actually is my mentor and coach and business partner now, and he's like 77, right? So he's 77, I'm 49, and now I've got the most incredible intern that I'm working with, who
Oh,
literally,
that's
she
great.
blows my mind. She's in India, right? And she blows my mind. Like, we're creating some incredible stuff together, and he doesn't even know we're having a massive breakthrough. Like this morning, massive breakthrough, and he doesn't even know yet because he's in Los Angeles, and I haven't told him, and he won't know until I'm ready to tell him what it is, right? So at Monday Influencer, we are reinventing everything. We're basically, apart from the core essence of what we do, we're basically making our knowledge base available to corporations, and all the knowledge that he has amassed over his 50 years in business. And Stephen has worked, he grew a business to over $1 billion, when he was in his 20s and 30s, and he's sold pretty much anything and everything that you can ever think of, on a marketing level, direct mail and email and stuff like that. And all these business lessons that we've both picked up along the way, me from talking to people and asking dumb questions, and him from experience on the firing line, right? So now we're
Mm-hmm.
making all of this information available to people through Monday Influencer, and I am really excited about it. It's messy, it's not neat, it's raw, and you know what? It it has the potential to transform so many lives because of actually who we are and what we're going to be integrating into it in the next month or two, that I'm so proud of what we've created already. And it's just the joy that I feel about life and about business and where I am right now could only have been made available to me if I didn't give up, right? Because if I gave up and I
There
took
you
that
go.
van driving job like my ex-wife was telling me to do, I would never be here. I would be stuck there in a
Yep.
dead-end job that I totally hated, right? And
Yep.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a job like that at some point in your life, but I certainly wasn't going there, right, at that time. So yeah, thank you for letting me share my story. And
So I am
yeah.
so excited that you're here. Where can we find you? If somebody wants to know more about your work, where can people find you?
Well, you can go to mondayinfluencer.com, or you
Okay.
can connect with me on my website, which is natschooler.com.
Again, we are here just all about never give up. And what's just a theme over and over and over and over again is every person who comes and shares a story about never give up, to encourage others to never give up, has gone through a story that has been hard. And sometimes it's not easy to share those stories or even admit those stories to ourselves or others. But thank you for being vulnerable and being willing to share your story. Do you have one just final thought you want to leave with us?
Yeah, just listen to yourself a bit more. Take the time to talk to the man upstairs if you're that way inclined, and make some notes, write some things down, and be inspired. You can achieve what you want to achieve. You just need to decide on what it is and write it down. Write it down every morning. Write 10 goals down every morning, and then read them in the morning, read them in the evening before you go to sleep, and read the Bible. That's what I do. I read the Bible, sometimes only a page, and you know and just say a prayer. Read the Bible, say a prayer, even if it's a short one, and then read your goals and believe that you can achieve it, because it's not gonna you're not gonna have a goal if you really don't believe that it's achievable. Like, if you've written it down somewhere on some level, you know that you can achieve it, and
Yep,
I think that you can achieve it. I believe that you can.
100%. Yeah, I love this. Um, and you summed it up perfectly. Um, so we have a tradition on this show. With the count of three, we end this show by saying never give up together. So are you game?
Yep.
All right, on the count of three, here we go. One, two, three. Never give
Never
up.
give up.
Never give up.
Never give up.
Nate, Nate Schooler, thank you so much for being here today. We're going to have your links in the episode description so people can find you. And maybe we'll bring you back for some
I'd
more
love
wisdom.
that. I can't thank you enough. I really enjoyed speaking to you, and I hope it was valuable to you and your audience.
Likewise, thank you, and never give up.